Nancy, hi, it is so awesome to meet you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I am so happy to be here.
Uh, um, so obviously you're included in our panel tomorrow for culture makers to highlight AAPI women, um, the work that you do in particular, and especially in terms of the community that we are a part of right now of
Mhm.
Chicago. And
Mhm.
so, first, I would love if you would just introduce yourself and where you are and what you do.
Okay, well, again, my name is Nancy, and I live in the northern suburbs here in Chicago. I'm actually an Evanston resident, but am
Mm.
very fortunate to work at Skokie Public Library, and those are neighboring communities, of course, and where you'll be performing or are performing. And I am really lucky to work at this amazing place as the library because it's a place where everyone comes, like all ages, all backgrounds and cultures, and they can find something that they're interested in that helps them grow and learn and exchange ideas. And I think what we hope is not only feel like they're welcome, but that
Mm,
they belong here. Um,
mm,
and I have, I think, the best job at the library because I'm the community engagement manager.
yeah.
And for us, that means that we go out, we do what we can to listen to the
Mm,
community and to learn what's important to them,
mm,
and then try to make connections, whether it's connections to resources and information, or people to organizations, and
yeah.
just connect them to people who have similar goals, or that they can benefit from each other. And I just love that.
That is amazing. And it's funny too because like you're mentioning multiple themes from the play, which I was like, oh wow, just
Just
like
you wait.
like connecting the dots and like having people, what does it take for people to hear each other, that is such beautiful and important work. My God. Um, so cool. And so that's in Skokie, very that's I yeah, I love that. Um,
Well, and one of the things, I mean, as we're talking about the play and AAPI voices, is that in Skokie we have like 28% Asian people.
wow.
So it's not an invisible group in this particular
Yeah.
community. And it represents, like, I think one of the things is with the acronyms, that Asian American Pacific Islander, Desi American, it
Mhm.
depends if you're going to add a D, you're going to add an H, what to the alphabet soup. But I mean, we have that full, rich diversity within the Asian culture at Skokie. We're not a monolith. And so
Amazing.
even when I say it's 28%, it's made up of lots of beautiful pieces.
So cool. I didn't realize that. That's awesome. So when you say, y'all make intentional effort to listen to the community and hear what people, you know, want, what they think, what have you heard?
I think the biggest message that we have heard from the community is a real longing to have a sense of belonging.
Mm,
We do have a very diverse community, Lisa. In addition to our Asian American Pacific Islander community, we have people from like 90 different countries here in Skokie.
wow.
And uh, people, I think they feel very welcome.
Mm,
But what we want to do, and what we've heard really, is
yeah.
that people want to feel like they belong.
Yeah.
So we're trying to, think about different ways that we can bring people together, that we connect with them, that we're, again, connecting those dots.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so cool. I mean, obviously, because also to me, intersectionality is of vital importance. So that is galvanizing to hear, and in particular when you have such a diaspora of people of different countries of origin, and being able to help people connect in a place where everyone feels like they can belong. I mean, oh, that's the goal, but also that's such beautiful work. Now, I also want to ask you, what is your cultural identity?
Yes, well, I am Korean American. I was born in the United
Hey.
States. Yes. I was born in Dubuque, Iowa, but my parents had immigrated from Korea after the Korean War.
Mhm.
So my dad was born in Manchuria. His grandfather was an independence movement leader and had
Wow.
traveled with a whole group of Koreans to Manchuria. When my mom grew up in what is now North Korea, it wasn't then, it was Korea. And when she was
Wow.
about 20 years old, she escaped on a fishing boat to the south. So I
Whoa.
love in the play, and I did get to see it before. I think it's Edgar says something like, "You are where you come from," or
Yes.
something like
Good
that.
memory.
And
Wow. Yeah.
when you ask that question, it's like, well, like where I come from also has to take into account where my parents were from and
Uh,
beyond that, right? So
hey.
they came to the United States, um, and I grew up in a small farming community in central Illinois. We
Wow.
were the only Asians, the only people who were different for a very long
Mm,
time.
wow.
And it was a good place to grow up. So there's a little bit of Mason City small town girl, friendly hello that I think has
Oh,
influenced my love for community.
oh, that's amazing. And also really beautiful to hear because of course like there's a part of me that hears you tell that story and I immediately feel concerned at what your experience growing up was being the only, others of a community. So it's great to be reinforced with the opposite stereotype sometimes that like not it's not always the case that people who are ethnically different will always have a negative experience
Mhm.
in small town white America you
And
know
it wasn't, it certainly wasn't always apple pie and hot dogs,
Sure,
I
I have no
mean,
doubt. Yeah.
um, I, I grew up and I could understand my parents perfectly, but I would see like kids mimic them, or
Mm,
adults would speak to me when I was a child because they couldn't understand what my parents were saying, and
yeah,
I felt like they were sometimes disrespected for that, and even though they
yeah,
were highly educated,
yeah.
um, but they became really beloved. They brought, their culture to the community. And, ultimately,
Mm,
yeah, I think they really did share, their culture. And, we were the only ones that had kimchi and rice every night and, took our shoes off at the door, but
yeah,
somehow we made it work.
yeah, yeah. I mean, what an amazing story of your parents and your history and your upbringing. Um, how do you feel that your parents' history and your lived experience has shaped the work that you do now?
Mhm. Well, I will say that, living or working here in a community that is so diverse, it makes me want to, and knowing that my parents went through struggles and challenges
Mm,
when they came here. I'm so happy that I work at a place where we provide English as a second language classes, that we help people get jobs, that we have so many activities for kids and families. So that's a really big part of my life. And I would also say the fact my dad was a pastor, so that
Oh,
community
wow.
spirit, wanting to help a community, is really part of my work in a different way. So he was out and about in the community all the time, and people wondered, they were like, well, Mark just, works on Sundays and the rest of the week he just hangs out, not realizing, hey, that was community engagement.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that really, really influenced me.
That is so beautiful. Really awesome. And so special and inspiring, the way that you have like helped that empower you to further your work, and the way that you then kind of pass on to not even just another generation, but you to just a whole community, because a community includes many generations, but that you, with that lived experience and with your parents' lived experience, that they, like you said, it is more complex than just where you are at a moment. It's where you
Mhm.
come from, for
Mhm.
sure, and that you have helped to create this kind of network, this kind of community to help others find a place of belonging. Because I mean, I think you're right. I mean, I think that's in some ways it's interesting, because while a lot of some reading that I've done, talks about the, like even like biological draw that we as humans have for belonging, and how it, stems back to evolutionary
Mhm.
elements of tribal nature, where that was part of your survival. You
Mhm.
would not, if you did not belong, you wouldn't survive.
Mhm.
And but how, even though we've all obviously evolved into a completely different kind of existence as humans, and that technically we can survive indefinitely, that it doesn't feel good. It does not make us feel whole in our human existence. um but I think also right now in our culture, society, social media, with the internet, it's so easy for us to be more isolated from each other. And so I'm so grateful to people like you who focus on the connection, the true human connection,
Mhm.
the value of that connection, that belonging. You're kind of connecting these synapses of this, wonderful mind that is a community, your community. It's really inspiring leadership.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. And I think that the play is so much about, I mean, really, as you said, the themes, but belonging and identity, and searching to try to find connection. I
Yeah.
don't want to give anything away, but
Yeah. But it's interesting, because it wasn't until, we've workshopped this play before, but with my background is that my mother is Korean and my father is of Finnish descent. And so in the play, obviously it's my dad who is Korean and mother who is white. um but it wasn't until this production now that I started making or feeling more of these small letters, these small love letters to my mom in the play, of what she went through. you know um Even just the slow acceptance from my in-laws,
Mhm.
my dad's parents. um and I guess, I guess that's what we can do, right? That's we connect our dots by
Mhm.
acknowledging our parents, our history, where we come from. And it's like, it's interesting because it's like an interesting delineation between holding on to like generational trauma that can hold us back, or carrying history with us but moving forward with it still, and honoring it but still, I don't know,
You know,
moving
I was thinking that there was so much that I didn't know about my parent, and never really learned about my parents' early lives, bits and pieces. But now I kind of learn more and kind of say, oh, you know, that's why it wasn't all just small Midwestern, you know, farm town. That's why our family did this, or
forward.
that's the way why my parents were, you know, a certain way. And
Yeah.
it makes me feel more connected actually to them.
Mhm. That's beautiful. And I feel like just talking to you and hearing you speak of these things, I get the sense that that knowing and that connection, it shines in the work you do.
Mm.
Like you shine that forward into helping others find a place of belonging, because you know that that's what, one, your parents received to a degree, but maybe there were ways where it could have been more belonging, and you
Mm-hmm.
are now helping to create that in your community here in Skokie, and it's really beautiful.
Wow, that really, that means a lot.
Oh, great. I'm glad, because that, that's, I feel like sometimes there's a lot of people in the world doing great things, right? Doing good things, but it's not often that we really are deeply acknowledged for them. And that was also something that I like wanted to do with these interviews, is shine a light on you, on the way that you are shining out for your community,
Oh.
because it's an act of bravery. And I think that people deserve to know how awesome what they do is. And of course, like if I can do that, especially for AAPI women, it's like, yes.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
and people don't necessarily even think of all the things that a library can do.
Yes.
And some do recognize how important libraries are to democracy
Ooh.
and learning and
Yeah.
growth. And so we are very fortunate that I think our community embraces the library, and in turn, we try to do whatever we can to support the community.
That's amazing. Yes. Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, is there, speaking of the ways that the integral nature of libraries, speaking of democracy,
Mhm.
um, I want this to also be an opportunity for you to speak on anything that you feel is important, anything about your work, about your library, about you, that you would love to bring light to.
Hmm.
But also no pressure. We can like just keep chatting.
Yeah, you know, I think some of the things that I've already talked about are what I
Yeah.
would want to raise.
Yeah.
Um, I want to, if we could turn a little bit away
Yeah.
from the work, I guess one of the things that excited me about being part of this panel
Mm.
tomorrow, and getting to meet you and to watch the show was when I saw that you are biracial, Korean, Caucasian, and putting forth your whole self in this play and claiming your whole identity. That was really exciting to me, and for both professional and personal reasons.
Mm.
I think there is absolutely a growing mixed race population in our country, and
Yeah.
I want our library to, you know, fully embrace people's whole selves, and have thought about, you know, what might we be doing, what kinds of conversations might we have.
Mm.
But on a personal note, I'm like, this woman looks a lot like my daughter.
Oh.
And she has been, you're talking about like learning from our parents.
Yeah.
I learn from her. She is a champion for equity, and she has really, and she continues to do a lot of work, looking at, biracial identity, what it means. She works with high school kids in a group with that. And I'm kind of embarrassed to say that it has only been in recent years that I've even seriously considered, and to even begin to understand, what it means for my kids,
Mm,
to be who they are,
mm,
which is Korean on one side, and then Polish, German, Scottish, English, on the other side. And
yeah.
and it's not really sides. It's really
Right.
they are overall, so there were personal reasons that I was very curious,
Mm.
about the production, and enjoy it so much.
Oh, thank you. I didn't realize that, and that is very special. Um, and do I get to meet your daughter? She
I
sounds like
hope so.
we could be friends. Um,
I'm like, wait a minute, who is this?
yeah, but it's well, and it's really beautiful for me to hear you say these things as the mother of a biracial or biracial children. Um, because I think it's not stuff that I think my immediate family is ever really going to get around to uh getting on the same page with me with, and that is just something that I have to accept, but that, yeah, it's funny because when growing up as marginalized communities, you don't even realize that you're not seeing yourself represented, you know um firstly as Asian people, also even as women, and then even more so as biracial people. It I, I, please don't be embarrassed, because I'll be really honest that I myself only within the last few years started to, well, actually I think that the Atlanta shootings was a really big turning point for me.
Mhm.
It was a paradigm shift. um and and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that I grew up in a very um white area, a very politically correct area.
Mhm.
And not to say that I didn't have a very enriched childhood. Obviously, I play violin because of public schools. God bless music in public schools and orchestra programs in public schools. And there was a lot that I had, but it was very much the sense of, oh, we're colorblind, you know, but that just meant that I kind of treated myself as a white person, which I'm not. And it wasn't until I went to college in Southern Virginia, because I grew up in Northern Virginia in the suburbs of DC, which is why, there's lots of government workers, including my dad, and diplomat families, so in terms of political correctness, it really was of that, kind of feel. But it wasn't until I went to college in Southern Virginia that all of a sudden everyone commented all the time on how I was the Asian arrived. And and it was weird. But I also was, not, I wasn't empowered enough yet to recognize um the difference, or it wasn't empowered enough, but also even just, recognizing a deeper self-worth, that I, Lisa, as a human, am worthy of all love and
Yeah.
opportunity and everything, without needing any sort of extra attention of being the Asian, of being what, you know what I mean? All of these different things, these expectations, these stereotypes that people tell us we are, because my whole life it was always like, oh, you're so cute. You're so cute. And that's what I knew of myself, is that, oh, that's what's expected of me. That's the role that I fill in this world. And so that's what I will be. And so honestly, until a handful, I mean, a large handful, of years ago, I spoke a lot like this, and I was like, "Hi, I'm Lisa, and I'm really happy to meet you." And there was a lot there to unpack that I finally ended up having, vocal issues after having particularly strenuous jobs in a row, where I met with a voice therapist. And oh, whoops,
I still see you.
sorry. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling, but all
It
that
is
to
a
say,
lifelong journey. I mean,
it's
I
a life.
think, right? Because that event, that shooting also impacted me deeply. Um, and I'm a lot older than you. So, and I think in the last several years, I've begun to realize that as one family, we have four different life perspectives because of the identities that are almost placed on us, right? And what you're saying a little bit about, and what I get, one part that I really love about the play, is that looking at how other people label you. Like,
Mm,
you weren't Asian until you went to school. I mean, if that's not an example of a social construct, I don't
right,
know what is, right?
right.
And
Yeah.
growing up in a mostly white community, I would have people say to me, well, and even now, I don't think of you as Asian. And then I'm like, oh, I don't think you see me then, and
I
I think
know.
they
It's
meant,
like,
so unpacking that is really, it's a lifelong thing, but some of it is then how do you see yourself, beyond what other people call you or label you or think you are.
yes, truly, truly, truly. Yeah, that's,
I I'm
yeah.
so
Oh,
sorry. I hate to
no.
interrupt. I don't know if you guys can see the countdown. We have about 5 minutes
Okay, great.
left in the Zoom meeting. So I
Yeah.
don't know if you want to do like one last thing or one final or wrap it up or what anything you want to do to kind of wrap it up would
Uh,
be good.
yeah.
Do you want me to tell you about, can I do a little commercial on some programs that are coming up at the
Oh my God.
library?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Well, at the library in May, AAPI Heritage Month,
Hey.
I think we're really celebrating a range of different cultures and have so many things for kids, teens, adults, that have to do with special food.
Mm.
We're drawing from China and Cambodia. We have a really interesting film called Yellow Rose that I want to see. It's
Oh,
about a Filipina teen who wants to be a country star, a country
yeah.
music star.
Yeah, it's Eva
Um,
Noblanzada, right?
Pardon?
She's amazing. Eva Noblanzada.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
And then, book groups, about families during the Japanese internment coming to
Uh,
Chicago. We've got
amazing.
K-pop and kimbap for the teens. So a really full, fun month, recognizing, the diversity within AAPI. And then, of course, we've got book lists for all ages of, Asian American Pacific Islander voices and Asian perspectives on screen, which just keep growing. So we are looking forward to people having a chance to, both have, that mirrors and windows
Oh,
experience. You've heard that before. That's kind of a library thing, but people seeing themselves and people
yes.
getting to see and learn about others.
Yes. Oh my God, so beautifully said. And that is something so true of theater too, of wanting to be both mirrors and windows. So awesome. What excellent programming. That's
So
so
while
exciting.
you're here, I hope that you will find time to come to the library. I mean, I'd love,
Yes.
you know, the Performing Arts Center is very close here. So
Amazing.
sometime
do
on
it.
your way or after, you know,
Yes.
come on over.
That sounds fantastic. Will do. Nancy, thank you so much for your time. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. I keep getting, what are these random phone calls coming in? I'm on an iPad. Sorry. But Nancy, thank you so much for your time. This was perfect. This was so perfect. And I hope you feel like you were able to really highlight things that are near and dear to you and your
Oh,
community.
thank you.
And
Yeah,
and
thanks
we
for the
will
opportunity.
edit it together and of course give you like show you it all beforehand, and you can always sign off or tell us like, hey, can we edit this in this way, you know, let us know, and then we will share it on our social media and be able to highlight the freaking awesome work you do.
Is anyone else going to be able to do this interview with you
We're hoping.
from the panel?
Yeah, we haven't heard back yet, but we're hoping.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think people had said yes a while ago, but now it's trying to like just map out times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
So that's
hardest
why
part,
today I was
guess.
like, oh, let's just try to make it happen. So thank
Yeah,
you.
that's the hardest part.
And again,
And where are you staying while you're here in the Chicago area?
I'm in Highland Park.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
north of Skokie.
yeah, yep,
Mhm.
yeah. But here with also with a toddler, so it's like that's why it's also a little like hit or miss. Like, you know, every
One of
day it
the
changes a little.
one of the things that I had an idea that I had was, and you may have heard it or not, I'm not sure. My daughter Grace is the faculty advisor at her high school for this group called WIA. And they've claimed WIA. It makes me wince every time I tell people what it stands for. But it's what are you anyway?
Mm.
And so it's all mixed race kids.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah. So I had suggested to Christina that maybe there would be a possibility of you interacting with them.
Yes, 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 and more. Yes, please, absolutely connect us.
Yeah. So
Please.
yes, and you can tell how much, you know, I'm a braggy mom, but
I love
indeed
it.
she is in her 20s. She has blonde hair and she used to play the violin in high school.
Wow. All right.
So there you
Okay.
go.
We're kind of peas in a pod here, I guess.
I guess we should say goodbye.
Yeah, we have
Oh,
about
yeah.
30 seconds. I
can't
don't want
see a
you guys
timer.
to cut off.
Great. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Nancy, I guess I'll see you tomorrow then too,
See you
right?
tomorrow.
Yay.
Yeah.
Thank you
Bye.
guys so much for your
Thank you,
time.
Annabelle.
Of
Yes.
course.
Thank you,
Thank
Annabelle.
you.
Fine.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Take care.